Oh, definitely.
So how do you do that? Is it all to do with marketing to get the new generation with you?
Yeah, so like we're self-marketed, we're very DIY. We just signed a publishing deal, which is our first sort of like venture into anything kind of industry related, and that made sense because publishing is a complete, like, it's an industry in itself, and something we can't do DIY. We don't have like the skill set or the network to really push our songs for syncs and stuff. But yeah, I mean, the marketing, that's something that we've really like taken the reins on ourselves and become like a bit of a paid ad ninja on Facebook and Instagram, and that's really been like where most of our fan base has come from. I think just the paid ads on Facebook and Instagram, mainly Facebook really, because we went for that core audience first, that crowd that grew up with Madness and Specials. We were able to target them through paid ads on Facebook with our music video. But yeah, we started branching out a bit more recently, and TikTok, that's been picking up organically, and Instagram we're targeting like sort of indie fans, punk fans, just trying to broaden the audience, you know.
How do you do that specifically to that genre of people like the Madness? How do you know that their fans are in this area on Facebook?
So Meta ads, you can target people based on their interests.
Okay.
So you could target people that are interested in like certain brands, certain genres of music, hobbies or whatever. And we worked out when we were first setting up these ads. So I actually had like a mobile car valeting business before I was doing this around Brentwood, and I was using paid ads to market that. And when we started this band, I sort of realised that the same principles would apply to marketing the music in theory, and thankfully it did. And and so you can type in artists. So you could type in, if your band sounds like, you know, Oasis, Kasabian, The Verve, you can type those artists in, and Meta will find people on Instagram and Facebook that are that have got an active interest in those artists, and show your ad to those people. You'll appear on their feeds, on their reels, and on their news feeds and stuff. Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. I'm going to be all over that tonight.
I want to go back to the marketing thing, but you just touched on the valet business. Like, is Scar is the a true story then?
I don't drive a gold Bentley.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I did have it weren't called Silky's hand jobs either. It was Brentwood Car Valet. I don't know if you clocked that on the van and on the t-shirt. That was in the video. So yeah, it was just a mad idea really. Just us just having a bit of a laugh and like come up with this mad silly concept that like these like lads that wash cars turn into these like mega rock stars. Do you know what I mean? And like,
I was listening intently though, because I thought it's like going that way, and I thought it's a bit like, you know, Finch out of American Pie makes the story up, and then you believe it. But that's a wicked way to make the story up about yourself. Do you know what I mean? And lead it on to that.
When I was writing it, I was like picturing that music video in my head, and it was like a mini musical. I thought, wouldn't it be really funny if it's like me and Johnny, like these skinny lads from Essex, and we're like sort of, you know, the video is like a hip hop video from like the like 90s or the noughties or something. Do you know what I mean? All the girls in the bikinis and the bling and the gold Bentley and everything. We just thought it'd be hilarious. So yeah, but yeah, I had my car valeting business for a couple of years before I went full time doing the band and the agency.
So off the back of all that, what we've just spoke about, you were signed to a record label, right, with your old band. I mean, you're an independent artist now. I know you said you signed a publishing deal and stuff, but still very much an independent artist.
Like, still our own label.
Talk to us about that journey from being signed, being dropped, and then just deciding to be obsessed with doing it yourself. Well,
like we signed with my old band, States of Emotion, signed to a really reputable indie label, very cool, happening label at the time. And, you know, it was exciting, but I did have like, I was a bit skeptical at the same time. There was just something, you know, when you get a gut feeling, right? And I just, it was one of them things where, like, you know, your family and all your mates are like rallying around. You're like, congrats, you just got signed, and you've like, you've waited for that. I know you've had the same experience, right? You've waited for that your whole career. You've worked so hard for it, and you know, it didn't feel how, like, you know, in your head you thought it should feel when you finally, like, you know, reach that milestone. And yeah, it was because it weren't really, looking back, it weren't the right fit for us. They weren't the right people, and they didn't really, they weren't the right people. So we had this like painful process of just being shelved basically for like, I think it was the best part of 3 years. And we came to them with an album, and they kept sending us to the studio to change things and getting things remixed, and we were happy with like what we'd done when we signed to them, you know, but we were obviously open to, like, you know, their suggestions, but it just kept going on, and we weren't doing anything. We weren't active live. We just kept being told to like just keep writing. We were skint, which, you know, makes it like, you know, all the more tough. And sort of like, we got an agent and they put us on tour with The Enemy, which is amazing. Wow. We did like an academy tour with them, and that was incredible. But that was the only thing really for like sort of 3 years. That was the only like bit of momentum that the band had. So left me at the end of it very burnt out and very bitter, if I'm honest. You know, I was just like, I thought that was it. I thought, like, you know, I tried a music career and failed. So when we started Death of Guitar Pop, it was really just felt like I was just like dipping my toe in the water. It was almost like I didn't want to get too invested in it, because I'd been so hurt by the experience of being in my old band for like 15 years and putting everything into it, like literally all your eggs in one basket, and then at the end of it feeling like you got nothing to show for it, you know, no fan base, no money. But, you know, looking back, actually a really good experience. Like, learned a lot through that tough process of it not working out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then like Death of Guitar Pop begins, and, you know, it's almost ironic, isn't it? Like, the first thing we put out, completely DIY. We did one of these Facebook ads, and it just went off like overnight. Like, people just commenting, liking, sharing, DM. And I remember pulling my car valeting van over to have a bit of lunch, and like opening up my phone and just being like shell shocked that people had messaged, like strangers that I didn't know, like just loving the music. Do you know what I mean? That was all I wanted, that connection all along, you know. So as soon as that happened, it was a bit like, you know, a shark smelling blood. It was like, right, okay. Do you know what I mean? I got my mojo back, like. And so like since then, like, it's Johnny and I have just put like, it's become like a lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? We've put like, it's become like, our life's work. Do you know what I mean? We've put so much into it, but it's just been so exciting because we've been in the driving seat the whole time. You know what I mean? And there's something quite, what's the word? Like, you know, it felt a bit like redemption in the beginning. Do you know what I mean? Like, our first show in London at the Oslo was banged out, you know, and organic fans, do you know what I mean, buying merch, wanting photos and everything. And it was just like, I'd played empty pubs apart from that Enemy tour for 15 years, do you know what I mean? So, and I thought at the end of that band it was done, do you know what I mean? There was, you know, I wasn't going to have a music career. So to have that moment, like have the first show, like turn up and there be like, you know, real organic fans that like know the words to the songs, do you know what I mean, and care that much. Some of them had travelled from like Newcastle and shit, like down to London to be at the first show. It just felt like redemption, and I guess got a real kick out of that. Just felt like really exciting that me and Johnny had created that ourselves. And there was an artist that I was really avidly following at the time, a rapper called Hopsin, and he's very independent, and I was really inspired by like watching his growth as an artist, knowing that like he wore the independent thing as a badge of honor, and it was something that they created, and it was this real cottage industry thing. So it was exciting for me to see like something playing out like that for ourselves, you know. So yeah, we've just learned to like you know, really just like embrace like the entrepreneurial side of it all, and become like business people by default, to make sure that we can create like you know, a sustainable business and a career out of it. So yeah, I think, you know, what I did wrong before with when we signed to a label was we weren't business minded, my old band, you know what I mean? We didn't do our homework, you know, on the business front. And I think, you know, what I would advise any like up and coming artist, the advice that I would give them is just become an entrepreneur with it. Do you know what I mean? Treat like your art like a business, and artists struggle with that because, you know, they worry that it's like, you know, gonna lose some of its magic because it becomes like a product. You know what I mean? But what I've learned from it is the business side is so creative. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and the fact that you're able to like monetize it to a point so that you can then keep going and making more art, and then, you know, now it's literally putting food on the table and I'm providing for my family through it. I've never felt more inspired as an artist. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So but yeah, I think, you know, the fact that I did have 15 years of being skint playing in empty pubs, I don't, you know, I think I appreciate it on like a different level perhaps, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To a lot of others, because yeah, we did it the hard way. There's no doubt about that.
No, but you've got this platform now for independent artists.
Yeah.
And you help independent artists like our mates, the Bracknell. So we've had, the reason I got in touch with you was through Harry and Jack, because they were just like, mate, they even said, you'll hear it, it's not out yet, but once it gets released, you'll hear it. They're like, you need to speak to Silky, because I was always like you were saying, actually, you're scared to turn yourself into a brand and things like that. And then it goes as far for me as making music, right? Making a visual, whether that be the artwork, putting it out and not knowing what the fuck to do. And it sort of stops there for me. And then, I mean, look at the boys now, the Bracknell, man. They are flying, and
they're doing so well. Yeah.
Rightly so. Like,
yeah.
I am such like girl groupie fans of their music now, and it's mad. Like we never. I've known Jack and Harry fucking years, and I explain it on the pod previously. Sorry for listeners listening to this again, but I said it was like we had this weird Mexican standoff. No one got their out. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was just like we didn't ever say, oh, I did this, or I'm doing this part of music, I'm in a band. We just drunk together at points at family events and things like that. And then when I was like, Jack and Harry are like proper cracking on, you know what I mean? And I see him a couple of times I was playing Citadel Festival. It's called something else now, but they used to do it at Victoria Park. See him there again. I was playing on a stage, they were playing on a stage. We never spoke about music. And it's like, how? Why not? Why didn't we do it? But then when they come on, they were singing your praises.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
I love those boys. I mean, we've been friends for years. And I mean, like they've just basically followed like the same model as us. Do you know what I mean? They've invested in the paid ads for like a good few years now. And that's a hard thing to do. Do you know what I mean? Between them, they've just put aside a bit of dough like every month, like whatever they can afford, like from their disposable income, and just invested into like those paid ads, and it's just compounded over time. Do you know what I mean? It's not an easy like quick route, but it does work. Do you know what I mean? And what those ads do is, like, say you spend like a tenner a day on an ad, and in their case they target fans of like Oasis, Verve, Kasabian, like those references I mentioned earlier. you know, 10, 20 pound a day, that might introduce you to 50 new people a day that watch the entire ad and then go to Spotify, or maybe they'll grab like we do like a 3+ shipping CD offer where you just got to pay postage and you get a CD, and it's a good way of like building like a monetized mailing list. So they've just done that for like a number of years now, and now they're starting to see the substantial returns. They've headlined Electric Ballroom, their tours sell really well. They've just done Isle of Wight on the big top, and there's 5,000 people in there. So they've done it the hard way. Do you know what I mean? I remember for years they were playing like, you know, half empty gigs the same, and lucky enough, like, you know, we found out about this paid ad route, and they stuck with it, and it's worked out so well for them. They're flying, aren't they?